Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed faculty and guests, proud parents, and most importantly, our exceptional graduates. It's a profound honor for me to stand before you today as Academic Dean of SACAP. For 27 years, this institution has devoted itself to the betterment of human minds and societies, and has served as a beacon of personal and community transformation for so many. Everyone who knows me knows that I love graduation. No matter how many I attend, it never gets old for me. Every year is a testament to what human beings are capable of achieving when they wholeheartedly commit to something. No matter what it is, each one of you here tonight has had at some point to overcome some kind of obstacle, and sometimes many obstacles on your journey. And so today we gathered to celebrate not just your academic achievements, but the enduring journey that each of you has embarked upon. A journey that extends beyond the walls of the classroom or even my SACAP. In March, I was privileged to attend a conference in Mexico City. And although it was heavily focused on technology and AI, for me it reaffirmed a vital lesson that deeply resonates with the ethos of SACAP. That despite the whirlwind of digital disruptions and technological advancements, it is ultimately humans who remain at the center of innovation. In the many discussions about the future of technology in education and society broadly with some of the world's most forward-thinking minds, a perhaps unintended consensus emerged, and again, one that echoes the beliefs that we uphold here at SACAP. No algorithm, artificial intelligence, or device can replace the nuanced understanding and empathic capacities that you, as graduates of a qualification underpinned by the application of psychology, are going to bring to the world. It is these human-centered skills, your ability to navigate complex emotional landscapes, to hear the voice of the other and foster understanding, and to lead with empathy that are absolutely indispensable. In fact, in a world held captive by intolerance and an inability to truly see things from the perspective of others, your ability to lead with empathy is nothing less than a superhuman skill. At the conference, a standout moment for me came during an interview with a panel of AI experts from top-tier organizations like Google and Coursera. While discussing the future of the workforce, a really interesting consensus was reached. The role of the junior software engineer may soon become obsolete as AI advances to write code at that level. My apologies to any junior software engineers. Yet, the senior software engineer will remain indispensable. This was the consensus that was reached. And you may ask, what is the key to their enduring relevance? It wasn't their coding prowess. Instead, it was felt that their irreplaceable skills lie in managing and motivating teams, in navigating complex relationships, and in applying nuanced judgment. So even Google agrees that the future of the workforce, in that future, human insight and emotional intelligence are going to be invaluable. To graduate this evening, most of you would have completed a survey about SACAP's graduate attributes. And what was evident in your feedback is that many of you have a deep passion for psychology and making a positive impact in people's lives. You told us that during your time at SACAP, you have individually grown through self-reflection and increased self-awareness. You indicated that you have appreciated the opportunity to work and learn from peers and faculty from varying backgrounds, thereby developing your appreciation for different perspectives. Your responses also revealed that you learned the importance of and developed the ability to apply ethical principles in your decision-making. And finally, you told us that you have developed very specific skills, including communication skills, conflict management, critical thinking, and perhaps most importantly, empathy. And I believe that armed with these invaluable tools, the world has no choice but to be your oyster. No matter what role you choose to take up in the world of work, whether you are addressing mental health disparities, negotiating in a boardroom, or advocating for social justice, your self-awareness and empathy will enhance your ability to understand and meet the needs of clients and colleagues alike. And this, again, will make you invaluable in any role. As graduates, you are not only well prepared technically, but also morally, ready to take responsibility for your actions and lead with integrity. This commitment to ethical practice and creating a better world is what will set you apart in any industry. Over the years in this address, I've often spoken about the value of you as our graduates. Initially, this was from a perspective of trying to help graduates to broaden their understanding of what the application of psychology looks like in the real world. But tonight, as I stand before you, having engaged with some of the great education leaders, I'm convinced more than ever that the durable skills you have to offer the world of work and society at large will transcend any technological changes and will ultimately stand the test of time. And while the world might not yet understand the value of what you have worked so hard to develop, I do, and I believe in each one of you. As I draw to a close, I want to acknowledge all the loved ones on this side present here this evening. I think without your unwavering support, we acknowledge that many of our students wouldn't be here this evening. We take nothing away from our graduates, but I'm certain that you have a large role to play in why it is we celebrate tonight. So we acknowledge you and we thank you for your contribution as well. I want to extend my gratitude to our faculty and staff for all that they do for our students, from reception and housekeeping to maintenance and ensuring that our libraries are cared for. Each one has a critical role to play in the higher education ecosystem. To my colleagues here on the stage with me, and to those in the audience, thank you for your support of our mission to educate for a better world. It's a privilege to lead this institution of moral fiber and academic excellence. Over the next 2 weeks, we will be graduating a total of 534 students across 12 programs, a remarkable achievement for us and for you. Of these graduates, 89% are women, and 13 countries are represented, many from the African continent. In those numbers are our first higher certificate in human resource management graduates, as well as our first postgraduate certificate in education graduates. And we are proud to be contributing to the pool of human resource practitioners, as well as quality educators and teachers much needed in South Africa and beyond. Tonight, as you step forward into new beginnings, remember that your education at SACAP is just the foundation upon which you will continue to build and must continue to build. The real test of your education's value is how you use it to impact the lives of others positively, to lead in ways that prioritize humanity. I want to extend my sincere congratulations to you on your remarkable achievements. We are immensely proud of each one of you and eagerly anticipate the extraordinary contributions you will make to our country and beyond. I want to close with the words of academic and futurist John Naisbitt, who said, "The most exciting breakthrough of the 21st century will not occur because of technology, but because of an expanding concept of what it means to be a human." I encourage you to never stop learning, and always use your humanity to do good in the world. I hereby declare this graduation ceremony of the South African College of Applied Psychology duly constituted. Thank you.
First of all, thank you so much for inviting me to join you this evening in celebrating the graduation. But also, I think it's a full circle moment for me. My first job was actually at SACAP. So in 2016, after I just graduated with my master's, I was looking for opportunity. I was looking for a place where I could, as Jaclyn was speaking, create social impact. And I found my people at the college. And it's a real honor for me to have been invited to come and spend this evening with you and just to share a nugget of my own thoughts around what I think I would have loved to hear if I was sitting in the graduate shoes this evening. So that's really where I've pitched my talk and where I really want to sort of bring you into a conversation. But where I wanted to start was really at the beginning of my own journey, because I think that really speaks to the spirit of what SACAP is trying to do in this country. So I grew up in Johannesburg, in the East Rand, in a small township called Thokoza. I was first in my family to go to university, so big expectations, but also knew that I wanted to lead a life of purpose and meaning, but I didn't really know what that meant as an 18-year-old. And I was fortunate to have been surrounded by educators and peers who also were on a similar mission. And it was so critical and fundamental for me to have started my journey there, but also with this mission of wanting to do, and I think, Jaclyn, you said, build a better world. And I love that, because I think that frames a lot of what I'll be sharing with you this evening as well. But I also think it was such an important time after I graduated with my master's, because I was trying to decide whether do I go this way or that way. So it was a moment of almost being caught in a fork in the road. And I was fortunate that the interview that I had at SACAP, if I remember correctly, Laura Fisher and Lance Katz actually were the panel that interviewed me. And it was such an amazing conversation. It didn't even feel like an interview. So to me, it just made sense to join this group of individuals. And I was based in Joburg at the time, and I was like, I'm leaving, I'm going to Cape Town. Mom was like, you can't go to Cape Town, but I thought, you know what, why not? What's the worst that could happen? But it was a roller coaster journey. Immediately when I joined the team, and at the time, I was a researcher, so really working quite closely with the academic team. But what I wanted to frame and share with you was just some of the lessons, or I think the reflections that I had as I was preparing for this talk, in terms of what would I have wanted to hear, in 2016 when I just graduated. What would have been the things that would have been really useful to have in my back pocket, or maybe something that, I hadn't thought about, that I've now gradually in my career, I hold these as almost beacons, or my little cards that I reference if I need a moment of inspiration. So there's three things that I would like to speak to this evening. And the first is around being dissatisfied with the status quo. The second is about staying curious, and the third is around betting on yourself. So I'm going to share some nuggets and some stories around why these are critical to me and have been so foundational to my own view of the world, but also why I believe we have to be doing work that seeks to build a better world. The first is around being dissatisfied with the status quo. I think we're living in such tumultuous times, not only here in South Africa, but globally as well. I was chatting to a colleague of mine at work, and she works in youth unemployment, and she was saying that 42% of young people in South Africa today are living in households without a parent who works. So this means that young people are being born into households of extreme disadvantage. And we also know that over 60% of children in South Africa are multidimensionally poor. The impact that has on their education prospects, their life outcomes, access to healthcare services, mental health care services, which is a lot of the work that I was involved in when I was in SACAP, you begin to understand the compound impact that this has on our prospects as a country. And I think about how when I was graduating at the time, I was a really privileged young South African because I had a qualification and I'd been exposed to a different way of thinking about the world, and how many young people don't have that opportunity. But that also came with a lot of responsibility of really thinking intentionally about what kind of world did I want to create, what kind of impact did I want to make. And I think for me, the most critical thing about being dissatisfied with the status quo is wherever you find yourself, whether it's in the arts, whether it's in business, whether it's in academia, or if you stay in the mental health care space, this idea of constantly pushing the boundaries, the idea of constantly finding better is critical. And I urge you to not let that go, because when I look at the world that we're living in, it cannot be business as usual. We need young people who are thinking differently about how to innovate in a world where the same old just cannot hold constant. And I think, Jaclyn, what you were speaking up to, the characteristics that SACAP graduates have is critical. At the time when I was at SACAP, we used to support the work integrated learning program. So we worked quite closely with young people who was just, at the tail end of their qualification and were going out into the world. And at the counseling hub, a project that was initiated by the SACAP Foundation, I really came face to face with SACAP graduates and students who were like, I want to do something better. I want to think about how do I apply my skills and contribute to this community. And it was always, always so inspiring to see the growth that those young people went through right at the beginning of their work integrated learning program and right at the end. And I urge you to keep that spirit, because I think for me, that's something that has always stayed constant. The second piece that I want to speak to is this idea of being curious. I say that because there's something about constantly asking questions that has served me so well in my life. Whether I was, a young person in school just trying to understand, well, why is the world built the way that it is? Why do we see the same kinds of challenges and problems coming up over and over again? And those were the kinds of questions that I was interested in answering when I went to university. And I didn't get to answer all of them, but I got some of the tools that allowed me to keep answering those questions. And I think for me, what became important about curiosity is that it puts you in places that are unexpected. It puts you in rooms with people that you didn't think you would engage with, but it also gives you a deep sense of humility for the kinds of, in systems thinking, we call it the wicked challenges. The challenges that don't have a silver bullet, the challenges that require collaborative thinking, the kinds of challenges that require us to be brave in ways that we wouldn't have thought we would need to be, and to work with those that maybe we wouldn't have thought we needed to work with. But I think for me, what's critical about the piece around curiosity is also allowing yourself to hear different voices. So when I was starting out in my career, I thought, well, I've just got my master's, I know a heck of a lot about the world. And I was humbled. And it was a good thing that I was, because it was that curiosity, chatting with people who had had very different life experiences and allowing yourself to be open to understanding the world from their lens is something that I credit for my own understanding of the world, but also the thing that still keeps me going now. In a lot of the work that we do at the D.G. Murray Trust, we collaborate a lot with government. And I remember when I started on my journey, I had a very particular understanding of government. And you can imagine I sort of walked in there and was like, well, I've been in civil society for so many years. I can have so much to share with you about how you can do your jobs a little bit better. And the humility was good, because I actually was confronted and met with people who were genuinely on the front lines of thinking about really serious challenges like healthcare and education. The one team that we worked with, and some of you might know this, but 82% of children in grade 4 cannot read for meaning. That means that children who move from grade 3 to grade 4, and in South Africa, that's where you would switch over from mother tongue language of instruction to English, right? And all of a sudden, you have these grade 4s who are learning history, who are learning life sciences, who are learning maths, who are learning science in a language that they've never spoken before. And you are now sitting in a room with people who are involved with initial teacher education, who are involved with training our teachers, who are involved with implementing educational programs that impact millions of children. And you begin to realize that the challenges aren't as simple, that actually the challenges are actually quite difficult, but the answers actually aren't as simple. And I think for me, that constant curiosity has served me well, because it allowed me to engage with the kind of, I think, critical thinking that whatever role you find yourself in, whatever opportunity you find yourself in, allows you, even if you think that you may not have all the answers, but to ask the kinds of questions that allow us to understand our problems differently. One of my colleagues at Bertha would often speak about, you need to fall in love with the problem. And I think I did a lot of that at SACAP, and I continue to do that now. But this idea of falling in love with the problem and having curiosity, I think, is absolutely critical and fundamental. And I think, lastly, when you keep that spirit of curiosity, you allow it to take you to maybe places that you wouldn't have thought it would take you. And I come from a social science background, and I'm always advocating for the social scientists. And what's been interesting for me is a lot of the work that I do now requires me to be supporting entrepreneurs that are thinking at the bleeding edge of what it's going to take to shift our society when we think about access to early learning, access to healthcare. And I walked into that room, I remember the first day, and I was like, I don't think you have the right person, but sure, I'm here. And by still having that sense of curiosity and still engaging in the same way that I did when I started out in my career has served me so well, and I've been able to contribute in a way that is different, but that adds value in a way that I found to be particularly meaningful. So stay curious. And the last thing that I did want to say about curiosity that I think is very relevant is one of the projects that I was working on created a tool that allows us to measure whether or not children in early learning programs, so these are children between the ages of 3 and 5, are developmentally on track. And one of the key indicators that they look at is curiosity as being fundamental for brain development. So in keeping that spirit of youthfulness, I think it's important to always have curiosity front and center. And then the last thing that I want to speak to is this idea of betting on yourself. And I think for me, this is quite an important one, because when I was younger, I think maybe, when I just graduated, I perhaps didn't have the confidence or the bravado to bet on myself in the way that maybe I would now. And sure, I think a lot of that comes with having different experiences, being exposed to different opportunities. But one of the things that I constantly, when I look back on my career, think about is, you needed probably to bet on yourself even more than what you initially thought you could. And I think for me, why that is something that I hold on to is a lot of the teams that I lead now are mostly made up of young people who are coming, straight out of university, or this is their first job experience. And whenever they share, a hesitancy to put up their hand or, ask the question of, well, surely there's somebody who's more experienced who can do this job a little bit better, I always ask them the question, well, what's the best thing that could happen? And you almost see that flip in their head when you ask them that question, because when you play out a different scenario that isn't, well, what could go wrong? What are all the bad things that could happen? When you flip that around a little bit, all of a sudden it presents a world of possibility for individuals. And I say that as well is, even if you feel like you might not have the experience, you might not have whatever it might be that you feel that you're lacking, which I hope isn't a lot, but just in case, bet on yourself, because most of the time you're going to walk into a room where you do genuinely have real value to add based on the experiences that you have. Even now, sitting as graduates, what you've learned, the skills that you've picked up, that has a lot of value to add in a team that might not be thinking about the problem the way that you're thinking about it. And I think if you're fortunate enough to find yourself in a situation or a context where others are betting on you, that's fantastic, because that allows you to engage differently. But even if you don't have that, be your number one champion, because I think just the advantage of that, just that mindset shift is fundamental and critical, and it allows you to show up a little bit differently in space, and that's critical. So for me, those are my 3 things. But the last thing that I wanted to speak to, which I think speaks to what Jaclyn was sharing a little bit earlier around the values and the principles that we espouse, is something that I'm gonna make a pop cultural reference. So I watch a lot of television in my downtime. That's what I use to de-stress. And one of the television shows that I watch has a protagonist who is she's a political, I suppose, fixer, if I can call it that. So if some of you already know what TV show it is, don't out me. But it's a popular American political drama / thriller. And one of the things that happens in the arc of the early season of that television show is they talk about wearing the white hat. And basically what wearing the white hat means is being a crusader for good, broadly speaking. But what my colleagues and I, so it's a running joke in the office that we often reference, is when we're forced with making a hard decision, or we don't know if this is the right call to make, we'll often think, well, actually, if we just put on our white hat, like how do we make this decision a little bit differently? And I think for us, why that's important is because this idea or this concept of wearing a white hat really espouses the values of showing up, putting in the work, choosing to place yourself in a context where even if you do have to make difficult decisions, and sometimes it might go left or it might go right, but if your North Star, the thing that drives you, whatever it is that allows you to wake up in the morning and be motivated and inspired to do whatever endeavor you're challenging yourself to do, you'll always come back to that North Star. It'll always be the thing that grounds you. It'll always be the one piece that, even if the times that we're living in are tumultuous and you're uncertain what the next day or what the future might hold, that there is a hope that we are, by showing up, by being committed to building a different world, are actually trying to do a little bit of that through our actions every day. So that was the last piece that I wanted to share. But I think finally, in terms of being in a similar position with you a couple of years ago, well, actually it's more than a couple of years, probably is a little bit over more than a decade. I remember when I was graduating from Wits University and I was an Alan Gray Fellow, at the time, the director of the foundation, Julian Hewitt, shared a quote with us, and he said, "I pray that you live in interesting times." And I think what he was trying to share with that is that as young people who are embarking on this new journey in your life, there's so much opportunity, so much adventure, so much out there that is yet to be discovered, that you constantly find yourselves in contexts and in situations that are exciting, that challenge you, that stretch you, that allow you to grow. And for me, the thing that stood out in that was that you would also, within that context, find your place in the world. And I think that's absolutely critical, because when I joined SACAP, I didn't know what that future would hold as a team member, but I found my people. I found people who thought about the world the way that I did. I found people who wanted to do it a little bit differently, take risks. And I don't think, Lance, I've ever told you this, but he was one of the first people who took a bet on me. And it was transformational for my life, because it put me in contexts where I challenged myself and had to stretch myself and be brave in ways that I didn't think I could be. But I think for me, I say that to say, be open to opportunities, be open about the world, be curious, bet on yourself, but also be dissatisfied with the status quo, because that's what's going to keep you going. That's what's going to allow you to show up in spaces differently. And yeah, I'm really, really proud of all of you. I'm always excited when I'm in a room with people who are young, who are going to contribute to this world, to this country, in ways that are really meaningful. And I see it every day in my work. When I meet people, whether it's in the deep rurals of Limpopo or in Johannesburg or in KZN, where I was last week, I'm constantly humbled by what this country and what the human capital of this country can do. And I wish you all the best in your new journey and the adventures that you'll be going on. But I hope that you find your people, you find your place, and you contribute to creating a different and better country. Thank you so much.
I would like to thank SACAP for their impeccable support throughout this journey. SACAP has given us opportunities to exercise leadership through the peer-assisted learning program, to being part of the SRC, and to have opportunities to be enrolled in short courses in other universities, and to be a sibling member. SACAP has provided us to push ourselves further than we could ever imagine. Furthermore, I would like to thank the staff from admin, who ensures we are enrolled to the correct classes, to the receptionists who ensure we enter campus safely and take care of any mental health-related incidences, to the student counselors who counsel us, to the librarians who help us find information for our assignments, and to the student development staff who ensure we are supported and are always willing to help us. We are so blessed to be part of the SACAP community. It takes a village to reach this milestone. A quote by Justin Turmeri says, "A good teacher is not someone who gives the right answers out to their students, but is understanding of their needs and challenges, and gives tools to help others to succeed." Educators are not appreciated enough, and today I want to say thank you for your feedback, especially the bad. Even though it is difficult, it helps us to be better academics. Family is not only the people who you are related to, but the people who see you and understand you for who you truly are. I would like to thank everyone who is in the audience for your continuous support in helping each graduate reach their milestone. You have played a valuable role in molding, encouraging, and supporting one to reach this milestone. May you never forget the role you have played to reach this milestone. This milestone could have not been achieved alone. To my fellow graduates, firstly, congratulations. You did it. Your hard work and dedication has led you here today. You accomplished such a big milestone. I know that there were many times you could have given up, but look at you today. You did it. We started off as strangers who were learning everything online, and that was challenging. Most days we wondered what some of our classmates looked like, and some of us, including me, kept our cameras off. We experienced not finding our feet in higher education, but also using online resources for our academic success. Studying during the pandemic included challenges such as losing loved ones, experiencing financial stresses from the looting and the impacts of COVID-19. But look at you now, still standing with your degree in hand. Additionally, we experienced more challenges. When readjusting to face-to-face learning, but the joy of meeting each other made the journey a bit smoother. The ability to continue to persevere, especially while experiencing all these stresses, is an accolade on its own. We cried, we lost, we may have fallen 7 times, but we got up 8 times, and each time much stronger. I am incredibly proud and inspired by everyone here today for your resilience to continue to thrive in the face of adversaries, some with our cameras off and dealing with the challenges of learning alone. The journey was long, but the destination has beautiful rewards. You should give yourself a pat on the back. You have overcome so many challenges, so many that were not seen. My wish is that you have this life becomes all that you want it to be and so much more. May you never grow weary in the face of adversaries. May your dreams stay big, worries stay small, and that you never need to carry more than you can hold. May all you have learned carry you into the working world. May love and light be all you experience. In closing, I would like to leave you with a quote by Michelle Obama. You may not always have a comfortable life, and you will not always be able to solve all the world's problems at once. But don't ever underestimate the importance you have, because history has shown us that courage can be contagious and hope can take on a life on its own.
Thanks for allowing me the opportunity to address you on this auspicious occasion in all of your lives. Graduations are particularly wonderful moments because they reveal that paradox of the educational journey. On the one hand, a journey of deep solitude in which only you can get to the finish line alone. But at the same time, you do so with the support of those around you who have brought you to that moment. And today, both of those different aspects of what has culminated in your graduation come together embodied in this room. Your parents probably have no idea what your thesis relates to or what you've studied, but they dutifully smile and appear interested whenever you tell them about Freud or Erikson or Jung. I only say that because I unfortunately never had the privilege of studying psychology, but I was on the reverse side of the coin because my mother is an educational psychologist. And so whenever I did something wrong, I would be dutifully chastised, and then she would ask, and how did you feel when you did that? And I firmly believe that her psychological education contributed to her being a brilliant mother and a brilliant parent, because she was able to have the empathy and the inquiry into my rights and my wrongs that always left me feeling as if she cared. And so I think your particular education equips you not only for the working world, in which I'm sure you'll be fantastic counselors, psychologists, psychometrists, and whatever you choose to be outside of that, but I think it also equips you to be wonderful partners, wonderful people to yourselves, and to the extent that you choose to go down that rocky path that I've just embarked upon to be a parent, I think it also equips you with important tools in that regard. There was this young girl who would grow up to be a wise figure in her village. And when she was a young girl, she was sitting on the banks of a river and watching the water flowing. And a wise elder came to sit down next to her and asked her, "Why the look of wonder?" And the girl said, "Why does the river flow?" And the wise elder looked and smiled, thought for a moment, and replied, "The river flows because it's trying to find its source. Water always flows to where it thinks the answer and the ultimate answer lies. It's flowing towards the ocean, like all rivers. And what you perceive as flow is a desire to get back to the source." And this reminds me of an aphorism that is often attributed to Socrates, which is that wonder is the starting point for wisdom. And that, at the end of the day, no matter what subjects or what universities or what inquiry we happen to be involved in, is at the heart of why we all engage in this educational enterprise. We can sometimes forget that ultimately we gain insights and we gain wisdom and we're able to help ourselves and society through the things that we learn. But all of that starts at the point of wonder, of looking at the world and the mysteries of the mind and just being curious. And that curiosity which marks us out as human beings is what leads ultimately to our wisdom. I'd like to share a few brief stories from my experiences that I hope can inspire you on this day, that relate to this ultimate pursuit of wisdom through wonder. The first is my experience when I arrived at Oxford. You couldn't imagine a more daunting feeling as I sat around with my peers and each person said which university they had come from, and Harvard, MIT, Cambridge. And I turned up and I said, well, UCT, which is a wonderful institution. But there was just a sense of not feeling quite self-assured that came with this internationally prestigious institution. And as you come from this elite institution of psychological excellence, I'm sure you'll have felt that same feeling when you walked in the door, that feeling of, am I quite up to this? Did someone make a mistake when they read my application? But the breakthrough for me, which allowed me to thrive at Oxford, was all these people who had been to these spectacular institutions, when we got to class, had this confidence because they had been told since they were knee-high to a grasshopper that their voice mattered, that they would be the person to make the next big scientific discovery or lead their country or come up with a new groundbreaking psychological theory. And the more I listened to them, the more I realized there was nothing particularly groundbreaking about what they were saying, but goodness me, did they believe that what they said was groundbreaking. And that was the only difference between me at the time and them. They didn't have an arrogance, which is too far to the other extreme, but they had a confidence to believe that their voice and their insight and that little idea that came into their mind mattered. And more than what you learn and more than the facts that you can regurgitate. Beyond that, true education is having the courage and the trust to believe in the voice at the back of your head that might just be pointing to something new and something original. Because goodness knows how many original and brilliant ideas that existed in people's minds have existed only in their minds because they were too tepid to bring them back out into the world. And so what I learned in that process at Oxford was nothing special intellectually, other than at some point you have to believe that what you have to contribute matters. It doesn't matter more than anyone else's contribution or less, but it matters. And when you can find the confidence to believe in your voice, you've taken the first step from wonder to wisdom. I often wonder to myself, what is the total psychological impact, no matter which corner of the society that we occupy? What is the total psychological impact of just being South African? It's a heavy load to carry because we carry so much on our shoulders that goes unspoken. And yes, we can rebuild our country and we can redevelop its infrastructure and we can deliver services and we can create a prosperous economy. But if we can't attend to the psychosocial wounds that underpin our society and transcend the current position to a new position of psychological restoration, psychological reconciliation, not a cheap reconciliation, but a true reconciliation where we're able to see each other through our historical traumas and still understand that we each share the fundamental human existence and that we share this political community together, whether we like it or not. If we can't summon the wisdom, the psychological wisdom, to repair the wounds that exist deep in our society, then all that economic development and all that prosperity and all that social reform will be for naught. And you march out of here as a generation of psychological theorists, of counselors, of academicians who must help us find the wisdom to restore our psychological wounds. And so, forget the doctors, forget the international relations scholars, forget the lawyers, forget the engineers. You have the ultimate task. And I hope that not only will you make considerable amounts of money, but you will also, in your different ways, rise to that social task. Wonder is the gateway to wisdom. And today, allow me to congratulate you, not only for your wonder, not only for your curiosity in being able to uncover and approach the complexities of psychology, but for having the tenacity and the grit to convert that wonder into wisdom. And may you repay that wisdom to those who have supported you on this journey, to those who come after you, and most importantly, well, second most importantly, to the wonderful faculty who have brought that wisdom out of you. And most importantly, may you repay it to yourselves. May you find wonder in wisdom and wisdom in wonder. Thank you.
Welcome to this momentous occasion where we gather to celebrate our achievements, our dreams, and our futures. Today, I have the honor of standing before you as a representative of this remarkable class. As we embark on this journey together, I am filled with both gratitude and humility. The past few years have been nothing short of a wild ride, a roller coaster of experiences that have shaped us into the resilient individuals we are today. As I look around at each of you, I am struck by the radiant beauty and undeniable sophistication that fills this room. Dressed in elegant gowns, suits, towering heels, Each of you radiates confidence and grace. Today is not only a celebration of academic achievements, but also a testament to these remarkable individuals before me, each one a shining example of intelligence, resilience, and poise. Each one of us has our own triumphs and tribulations and stories to tell, and that have brought us to this moment. Today marks the achievements of years of hard work, perseverance, and unwavering determination. It's a dream realized for many and a testament to the sacrifices made by our families and loved ones. Our journey together as the class of 2023 has been nothing short of extraordinary. We began our academic voyage amidst the challenges of a world grappling with a pandemic. Yet, despite these uncertainties and upheavals, we forged ahead with resilience and determination. I can still remember it like it was yesterday. In our first year, we navigated the uncharted waters of virtual learning, adapting to new modes, and while remaining steadfast in our pursuit of learning. As the world gradually reopened, we embarked on the adventure of returning to campus in our second year. A journey filled with both excitement and apprehension, but one that ultimately strengthened our bond as a community. My dear friends, do you remember the late nights spent poring over textbooks and journal articles, fueled by the endless cups of coffee during assessment weeks? It is a hallmark of our SACAP experience. We weathered the storm of load shedding, finding innovative ways to study and collaborate even in the face of adversity. I would like to reflect on two memorable journeys we went through during our third year. There were the trials and triumphs of our favorite subject, research, which I like to call the academic maze, as it literally felt like we were in a maze. One thing this subject has taught us is patience. And for some, this is not what I want to do in my life. Lastly, our work integrated will experiences were moments of uncertainty and self-discovery that tested our determination and expanded our horizons. I would like to highlight our journey through will, where theory met practice and we were thrust into the real world with real challenges and real people. Will wasn't just about clocking in those hours and doing the assessments. It was about stepping out of our comfort zones, facing uncertainty head on, and discovering our true potential. We were tasked with solving complex problems, collaborating with professionals, and navigating the intricacies of the workplace, all while balancing our academic responsibilities. And though the journey was challenging, we did not walk it alone. We had the guidance and support of dedicated supervisors who believed in us, challenged us, and encouraged us to reach new heights. Among them, Sonia stands out, who we can all agree is a beacon of our inspiration and a source of unwavering support. Her belief in our abilities, her commitment to our growth, and her infectious enthusiasm were the driving forces behind our success. Two phrases that echoed throughout our will experiences were, "I will kick you swiftly from behind if you're not looking after yourself," and little did we know, we looked after ourselves extremely well. And secondly, and most importantly, if there's a will, there's a way. It became just a motto. It wasn't just a motto, it became a mantra, a reminder that no challenge is insurmountable, no obstacle too daunting, as long as we remain determined and resilient. But through it all, we persevered, we leaned on each other for support, shared laughter and tears, and celebrated every milestone, big and small. And as we sit here today, on the brink of graduation, it is undeniable that our journey has been nothing short of a triumph. You know you have a psychology degree when you start reading the diagnostic criteria for a mental disorder to answer a simple forum question, and suddenly everything starts sounding eerily familiar. You find yourself nodding along like, yep, definitely experienced that. And that, and that, oh, and that too. It's like a checklist of your life experiences that make perfect sense in the context of psychology. Suddenly you're diagnosing your family, your friends, and even yourselves with various disorders. Half jokingly, of course, or maybe not. But hey, that's the beauty of a psychology degree. It gives you a whole new perspective on the quirks and complexities of human behavior. So if you ever find yourself relating a bit too much to the DSM, just remember, you're not alone. Welcome to the club. One of the most valuable lessons I've learned during my time here is how to navigate your own hardships while combining academic rigors and mental health. The close-knit friendship among our cohort acted as a light, reminding me that one does not go through this path alone. I'm quite grateful to have found safety within this community. As we leave and journey out into the world, let us carry the lessons learned from adversity with us, as these obstacles are what fueled our growth and development. As we stand on the brink of our futures, poised to leap into the unknown, I'm confident that each of us will uphold the values instilled in us by SACAP, both ethically and professionally. Today, we proudly proclaim that we've conquered every obstacle in our path. Life, much like our academic pursuits, is replete with challenges. Yet, it's through overcoming these hurdles that we uncover the true potential. We've experienced euphoric highs, crushing lows, and everything in between. In navigating these challenges, we've not only grown academically, but as individuals. We've forged bonds of friendships and professional alliances that will endure a lifetime. These connections serve as our pillars of support, guiding us through even the darkest of times. Let's cherish these relationships, for they form the foundation of our shared experiences. In the face of adversity, it's crucial to adopt a mindset that sustains us. Let's paint a picture as we embark on our respective journeys. Let's embrace the belief that every challenge is an opportunity for growth, a seed. Every setback, a gust of wind, is a lesson to be learned, and every triumph is a milestone in our journey, a blooming flower in our garden. I congratulate each one of you for embracing your season of change and for recognizing that growth often comes from shedding old layers, like a tree shedding its leaves for preparation of a new season of growth. Your resilience in facing adversity and your unwavering determination to persevere deserves an applause. I extend a heartfelt appreciation to the dedicated team at the Pretoria campus, our coordinators, educators, admin team, SSD team, and supervisors. Your guidance, both gentle and firm, has played a pivotal role in our journey, contributing significantly to our success and well-being. Your support has not gone unnoticed. I'd also like to take a moment to express my heartfelt gratitude to Lauren. Her mentorship and guidance have been instrumental in shaping me into the leader I am today for the PAL program. Lauren's wisdom and support have not only helped me navigate the challenges of this role, but have also inspired me to strive for excellence in all that I do. Thank you, Lauren, for your unwavering belief in me and for always being there to offer guidance and encouragement. A special shout out to our incredible support network, our siblings, parents, partners, who have been our rock through every high and low, cheering us on with unwavering enthusiasm. You've witnessed our moments of triumph and our moments of utter confusion, patiently enduring our endless rants about psychology theories or our desperate pleas for help with statistics homework. You've been our unofficial test clients for our impromptu therapy sessions or amateur attempts at psychoanalysis, offering invaluable feedback, or just pretending to listen attentively. Either worked. But in all seriousness, thank you for being our constant cheerleaders, celebrating our achievements with genuine happiness, and enduring our setbacks with boundless patience. From enduring our late-night preps for class to putting up with our post-assessment meltdowns, you've truly gone above and beyond in championing our dreams. Our unsung heroes, for the real MVPs in our journey through SACAP. We couldn't have done it without you. As we stand here today, adorned not only in our graduation attire, but also in layers of perseverance, confidence, resilience, and strength, let us acknowledge the collective effort it took to reach this milestone. Together, we faced challenges head-on and come out on top, now equipped with the strength and determination to tackle whatever lies ahead in our future. Getting to this moment, to this stage, is more than just an academic achievement. It is a testament to our strength, our resilience, and our unwavering commitment to excellence. So let us take a moment to savor this victory, to reflect on how far we've come, and to embrace the endless possibilities that lie ahead. My fellow classmates, as we know, this is not the end of our journey. It is just the beginning. May our futures be as bright as our spirits are today. Thank you.
Since being asked to deliver this keynote address, I've spent much of my time, I guess as psychologists do, wondering about what I would say to graduates who are likely going out into the world of work for the first time. At least to me, some of you seem very young. Some who have worked and have decided to come back to do another qualification. Some who want to enhance a skill for what they may be doing already. So while we celebrate the great achievement of the graduates here today, and it is a great achievement, not only for what you have done to get to this point in your lives, I am also cognizant that we are gathered here today on the eve of probably one of the most important elections of our lifetimes. In part, this importance of the elections tomorrow is a feeling among many people in the country that the gains made since the dawn of democracy have been slowly eroding, including whatever social cohesion we might have had post-1994, the socio-economic upward mobility that has been both racialized and gendered. We are also sitting here with ongoing conflicts going on elsewhere in the world, in Palestine, in Sudan, and the DRC, amongst the most pertinent, or at least those that sit with me. These issues are key areas of focus for people like myself, the staff at the South African College of Applied Psychology, and today as graduates in the field of applied psychology. Mainly as we all, in some way or the other, are concerned about the human condition. However, tonight, my aim is to wonder again with you all about some other issues that you may encounter as graduates in applied psychology, and people going out into the world trying to negotiate your lives in an ever-changing one. Over the past few years, there have been different crises, I guess, but one that has become more visible, at least for me, which has been a century in the making, is that of quiet quitting. I'll speak about this in a little while. I want to be clear that I won't try and give a historical speech here. I'm sure you're all eager to get onto the stage and celebrate. But I do want us to hold two historical matters as true, as I weave through a tale of caution and the responsibility we all share in facilitating healing. The first historical fact is that we are living in the ruins and aftermath of colonialism, or at least what the South American or Latin scholars have called coloniality. Secondly, that the ruins of colonialism are punctuated by what has been called alienation. And this alienation is of the post-colonial subject from their cultural life, other people, and labor. To focus us, I will focus on two crises that result as a long-standing consequence of alienation, namely the rise of quiet quitting, which I've mentioned, and second, the mental health crisis. So to begin, and to explain probably to some people who may be hearing the term alienation for the first time, or might have heard it, but are not sure about what it means. I take leave here from the psychologist, activist, and anti-racism scholar Hussein Bolhan, who explains in his seminal book, Frantz Fanon and the Psychology of Oppression, that alienation is composed of 4 aspects. 1, it's people's alienation from nature or culture. 2, people's alienation from themselves. 3, people's alienation from species or being or humanity. And 4, people's alienation from each other. These aspects, at least for me and the work that I'm engaged in, are instructive of the world that we live in today. We often hear of the ways in which, even though we are more connected, and as Dr. Martin pointed out, everybody and their cell phones, it appears that we are also the most isolated and loneliest generation in recent history. And I'll return to this in a short while. So then, to take quiet quitting, a term that I'm sure many people have heard of, and if you haven't heard of it, I would like to give a definition of it from Michael Hitzig, who says, open quote, "The idea behind quiet quitting is that employees who are exhausted or frustrated by ever-increasing duties and ever longer demands on their time and are feeling unappreciated, ratchet back to the bare minimum of their job duties," close quote. Many commentators on the phenomenon of quiet quitting note that this is not new, but rather it is merely the quiet parts being said out loud, pun intended. The recognition then is how modern societies have created a state that Karl Marx, over 100 years ago, noted of a workforce that is alienated from the means of production. To simplify, quiet quitting is not occurring in a vacuum of companies that are demanding more out of people who work for them. Rather, it is occurring within societies in which meaning and purpose of work have been commodified absolutely. The profit-driven market, where it is all about the bottom line, breeds environments where workers are mere units of production. The language of this society, definitely the one that we live in and across the world, is one that is dehumanizing. It removes in many ways the humanness of work and engulfs people in a constant pursuit of profit over meaning and connection. Work in this instance becomes not a vocation here understood as the human activity that connects us to culture, ourselves, and others, but simply an occupation, the thing we do so that we can consume other things. In my own work, certainly in the work that forms the bedrock of the book that was mentioned in my introduction, I found that particularly cultural alienation is rife within psychology. The motivation for my focus on African-centering psychologies is primarily the recognition of the alienating nature of the discipline of psychology and other related specializations. Many of the participants in the study that I conducted related to me feelings of alienation from psychology, a feeling that Sol Plaatje in his 1916 book, Native Life in South Africa, calls being a pariah in your native land. These early career psychologists, a little bit further than where you are now, but where most of you are probably going to end up applying for master's programs. And some established psychologists refer to feeling that they do not belong in the discipline, that they are meant to work in a field that does not recognize them, and in the most extreme cases, even saying a discipline that does not recognize them as human beings. And this is the part that I said earlier about holding on. The second interlocked crisis is that of mental health. It is probably not surprising in my account of quiet quitting that mental health is, of course, part of this crisis, as both cause and end result, driven by alienation. By this I mean that mental health crisis is both an underlying cause of quiet quitting and is a symptom of it. But in both instances, alienation is the driving force. The link then between the phenomena of quiet quitting and mental health is that many people who find themselves quietly quitting are struggling with low mental health as a result of the alienation that they feel from the means of production or their vocation. That the work that they are doing is an occupation rather than a vocation. In the main, many scholars, organizations agree that there's been a major decrease in the levels of mental health across the world. Globally, according to the World Health Organization, 1 in 8 people lives with what are known as common mental health disorders, such as depression, anxiety, and other more severe disorders, such as schizophrenia. The situation is not any better if we zoom in to countries like South Africa, which are regarded as low to middle income, with an estimated 80% of the people living with common mental health disorders globally found in low to middle income countries. The crisis, of course, appears to have been exacerbated by the COVID-19 pandemic, with the continuous loss and grief that followed, and probably more pertinently, to alienation that I referred to, the increased isolation people have had to endure. What then underlies the mental health crisis is the issue of alienation across the 4 domains that I spoke about. To be clear, in my assessment, the mental health crisis is being driven by the same cultural, human, and vocational alienation that has led to quiet quitting. I would be remiss, though, not to note the effects of poverty, unemployment, unemployability, and continued violence in its many manifestations as leading causes of the decrease in mental health, particularly in countries such as South Africa. But I will reiterate what I'm stating here is that the mental health crisis is entrenched within systems that exclude, marginalize, and dehumanize. In typical psychologist fashion, I fear that I've been a negative Nelly. I'm sorry to the Nellies. It's the English, it's not me. So to close off, I want to offer a kind of antidote to alienation. This I term collective action. As I've noted before, most of you here, and this is addressed mainly to you, graduates today, most of you gathered here today are looking to work with people in either their worst moments, and others will work with people who are looking to elevate their lives. The requirement in both instances is, to paraphrase Frantz Fanon, to walk with people for all time. That is an intentional act of drawing yourself to the moment. To help others find purpose, you must find your purpose. Purpose does not necessarily mean career advancement, but rather an impact in the world around you in ways that advance a just society. What is clear, or at least what I hope is clear, in my tale of caution on both quiet quitting and mental health, is that it is not only through collective action is not only through things such as protest, but the creation of community that people can escape from alienation. I have made this argument before in a slightly different way, speaking to US American students on the parallels between the Fees Must Fall, Roads Must Fall student movements in South Africa and the Black Lives Matter movement in the US. That these protests are a clear indication of how communities are formed, not only as a means for demanding of structural changes, but also as a rallying call to be seen as human, to de-alienate towards being, towards others, and society. I must stress again that whilst protest is likely the most visible way in which collective action occurs, it is not the only way. I am proposing here to you, as graduates, collective action that develops community and kinship, and that allows us to cohere in place. I speak about the 4 ways in which alienation occurs in modern society to impress on all of you that inasmuch as the journey you have completed is about resilience, about the skills you have gained along the way, and the knowledge that you walk out with as a graduate of the South African College of Applied Psychology, the next steps in your lives have the potential to contribute not only to advancement of your individual lives and the lives of those who have supported you, but also to society more broadly. As you enter the next chapter of your lives, be mindful of who you are, as a graduate who has resources, knowledge, and skills, but with the understanding that the path to learning is lifelong. And for many of you, it will never be in a lecture hall again. Be cognizant of the world around you. Be vigilant of the structures that make up society and how they work, and resist, as far as possible, collective action and community, reducing us to but mere cogs in the machinery. Power is no friend to collective action. Collective action or community allows us to learn from each other, not in a way that is extractivist, that commodifies others for our personal benefit, but in ways that facilitate healing and draws us close to each other. Thank you.
It is an honor to be able to deliver the student address for tonight's ceremony. I want to start off by sharing a quote written by Nelson Mandela. Education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. We started as strangers, each of us carrying our own dreams, ambitions, and perhaps a few fears. Along the way, we became a community, united by shared experiences, challenges, and triumphs. We've spent countless hours in classrooms and libraries, in late-night study sessions, and finishing assignments 1 minute before 12. These moments have shaped us, each one adding to the mosaic of our education. To our teachers and mentors, thank you. Your guidance, wisdom, and unwavering belief in our potential have been the bedrock upon which we've built our achievements. You taught us to think critically, to question, to explore, and to strive for excellence. You've shown us that education is not just about acquiring knowledge, but about cultivating character and integrity. I've studied at multiple universities since 2018 whilst pursuing my career within the field of psychology. I must admit that it was quite intimidating to arrive at a university where I was not just regarded as another number, but rather a carefully selected student with specific prerequisites to enter the study program of my choice. Throughout all my years of studying, most degrees were theory-based, with little to no practical experience of how theory is applied within the practical world of psychology. At SACAP, I finally had the opportunity to experience the practical application of theory in practice. Throughout assignments, I was always challenged to perform to the best of my abilities and develop an advanced skill set of critical thinking. I'm so grateful to have been able to study at an institution such as SACAP. It has equipped me with not only knowledge, but the ability to challenge my own way of thinking and perceiving, as well as the ability to apply my knowledge in practice. I'm also grateful for the lecturers who taught me, supported me, and always challenged me to perform to the best of my abilities. SACAP made me feel seen as a student, not merely a number, and therefore by far the best university I've attended during my journey of studying psychology. Graduation is not just a ceremony, it's a milestone, a marker of the end of one chapter and the beginning of another. It is a time to reflect on the journey we have traveled, the lessons we have learned, and the friendships we have forged along the way. As we stand on the threshold of the future, it is natural to feel a mixture of excitement and apprehension. The world behind these walls is vast and unpredictable, but it is also filled with endless possibilities. Each of us carries within us the potential to make a difference, to pursue our passions, to effect positive change, and to leave our mark on the world. As we leave this institution, let us not forget the lessons of empathy, collaboration, and resilience we've learned here. And may we always look back on this day with fondness and gratitude, knowing that we've been blessed with the opportunity to learn, to grow, and to thrive. Congratulations, my fellow graduates. The world awaits us, and I have every confidence that we will rise to meet its challenges with grace and determination. I want to conclude with a quote by Rita Moreno. "The day you graduate, you do not arrive. This is not the end. This is the beginning for you. To graduate is to change gradually." Thank you.